My goal in role playing games is to maximize the feeling for players that they are truly inhabiting the other world as their PCs. This isn't a board game, it's not a miniature war game. Role playing games are about being another person in another world or setting. So everything else must function to enhance that experience for them. The primary tool for reaching that goal for me is simulationism, the paradigm that the secondary world must feel real for the physics and psychology of the world to feel solid and to match our human experience. That cause and effect are legitimate, and the GM isn't breaking the laws of causation in order to impose any outcome. The more that the secondary world feels self-governing, the stronger the player's psychological connection can become. But even tools must first be fashioned, and the better the fashioning, the more useful the tool. So, what is the best way to build this tool of a functionally simulationist role-playing game? We know that no system can provide a one-to-one replica of life. Reality is far too vast and too layered. But trying to mirror that complexity leads straight into at least two bear traps in these woods. The first is detailism. Even if our mechanics could somehow capture something close to real life, we'd lose the forest for the leaves. Attention during play determines the experience. And when our attention is locked onto charts, rules, algorithms, and numbers, the players are no longer inhabiting that imagined other world as other people. The players are instead hovering above it, distracted by the meta process instead of being within that world. The illusion falters because human experience is not constructed through formulas or checklists, but through pattern recognition, intuition, and lived flow. Second, it's obvious that even the most intricate of mechanics cannot 100% succeed in simulating real life. They might produce formulas that are aspiring towards realism, but they're doomed to reach that exact bullseye. It's simply too small and moving a target to ever hit. Even the best simulationist mechanics are like crude maps that should not become confused with the territory. The servant must not become the master. The tools intended to facilitate the real goal must not end up supplanting it. This is where the real danger lies, not in inaccuracy necessarily, but in misplacing authority. Being enslaved to mechanics or rules may generate the feeling of certainty or solidity because their outputs are explicit, repeatable, and measurable, even when they are contextually wrong. Intuition, by contrast, lacks that visible scaffolding. It feels uncertain only because it works beneath obvious awareness, integrating far more than we can articulate quickly. As Dr. Ian McGilchrist, psychiatrist and neuroscientist, shows, expert intuition regularly outperforms explicit reasoning in both speed and accuracy, especially in real-world tasks. And here we must clarify the word intuition. It does not mean sloppy or lazy thinking or mystical insight divorced from reality. Intuition is an expert capacity to perceive patterns, context, and causality in real time. As Dr. McGilchrist put it, intuition is often more reliable, much quicker, and capable of taking into account many more factors than explicit reasoning, including factors of which we may not even be consciously aware. So this is not hand waving in the sense of, oh, I don't care about this or that, so whatever. This is a recognition that the informed mind is capable of making rapid, layered, and highly accurate judgments without pausing to formalize and justify every variable. It's precisely this ability that makes intuition the most functional tool for real-time simulation at the table. Bureaucracies get created to serve a function, to manage complexity, to enforce consistency, and handle large systems. But soon enough, bureaucracies begin to serve themselves. What was once a tool becomes a lifeless authority. Processes ossify. Judgment is replaced by policy. The letter of the law overrides the spirit of the law. The original goal is forgotten, and all that remains is machinery grinding forward with no awareness of its true purpose. In the same way, role playing games risk becoming their own kind of bureaucracy. When the mechanics dictate reality, the secondary world feels less like a living place and more like a set piece. It's painted to suggest depth, but everything about it feels artificial and stilted. Simulationism can't thrive when the world must always be answerable to the mechanics and rules. Players and GMs must be allowed to think with the same faculties they use in real life: flexible attention, intuition, rapid, experience weighted judgments. Now, none of this is to dismiss or lessen the importance of mechanics and rules. They're essential in role playing games. They offer structure, reinforce fairness, and create shared expectations across the table, but they must stay in their lane. When formalized rules begin to dominate the experience or override the living nature of the world, they lose their function as tools and they become obstacles. Mechanics should serve the illusion of reality, not become the reality themselves. That's why mechanics must instead be supportive, skeletons of the body, objective guidelines that inform, not dictate. They're structural principles, they're signposts and anchors, not straitjackets. And I don't even think that so called rules light systems are a good idea. The true concern is not weight, but momentum at the table. What breaks immersion is not the number of rules, but whether the rules interrupt the flow. Chart surfing stilts the rhythm of play and reminds the mind that it is watching a mechanism unfold instead of a world take shape in 3 dimensions. This is also why the players ever engaging with numbers or rules at the table is a bad idea. Just as intuition bookends reason, framing and resolving it, mechanics should bookend play, but never hijack it. It's easy to become deluded into thinking that we're being simulationist by tethering ourselves to charts and numbers, but it's not actually accomplishing the goal. These systems operate in rigid, linear fashion. They interrupt flow, they force lookups, and reduce the momentum. They may have been constructed to simulate the reality of the world, but they became a self referential loop of the mechanisms themselves. Mechanics might simulate measurement, but never meaning. But meaning is what we perceive intuitively, faster, deeper, and with greater fidelity to the experience of being. The closest we can hope to get for governing the secondary world in a way that resembles real life is through the informed adaptive judgment of the human mind, aka intuition. Consider driving, a task that requires real time tracking of motion, distance, intention, and risk. We respond to sudden threats on the road in under a second. We don't pause to consult the driver's manual. We act almost instantly using memory, instinct, and contextual awareness. This is how the mind functions when immersed in a real system. It's flexible, fast, and layered. It's not mechanical, never rigid. This is the same quality Dr. McGilchrist attributes to skilled intuition, its ability to integrate many more factors simultaneously than reason alone, without pausing to isolate them one by one. This is why the human mind remains the only workable method for real time simulation at the table. No static rule set can replicate its ability to weigh nuance, adapt to edge cases, and keep the illusion intact without delay or dissonance. This is by far the best tool for the job. The GM must govern, the mechanics must serve. And to lead well, the GM must trust the intuitive mind, not as a fallback, but as the first and best engine of realism.